Hello, my name is Mary. Today I will be presenting on Robert Nozick and his thought experiment, the experience machine. Imagine being offered a chance to live the perfect life, endless happiness, success, and fulfilling relationships, all guaranteed. But there is a catch. None of it is real. This question comes from Robert Nozick, a 20th century American philosopher known for his influential work in political philosophy and ethics. In his 1974 book, Anarchy, State, and Utopia, he introduced the experience machine to ask whether pleasure alone is enough to make a life good. Today, I will explore what this machine is and what Nozick believed it tells us about our values. Before we look at the experience machine itself, it is helpful to know a bit about the philosopher behind it. Robert Nozick was an American philosopher who lived from 1938 to 2002, and he became one of the most important figures in modern political philosophy. He taught at Harvard University for most of his career and was known for challenging ideas and for strongly defending individual rights. His most famous book is Anarchy, State, and Utopia, published in 1974. The book focuses on the limits of government power and the importance of personal liberty. What's interesting for us is that this is also where Nozick introduces the experience machine. He uses it as a thought experiment to question hedonism, the idea that pleasure is the highest or only good in life. So, understanding who Nozick is and what he cared about helps us understand why he developed this argument. Imagine a machine capable of feeding your brain perfectly crafted experiences, the career you want, the relationship you dream of, endless joy, and no pain. You could feel completely happy, successful, loved, anything, and you wouldn't know it wasn't real. Once you're plugged in, the machine creates a life that feels exactly like the real thing. You would never know it was artificial. It would feel totally real. Nozick uses this scenario to challenge hedonism, the idea that the best life is simply the most pleasurable one. If you could live a perfectly pleasurable life inside this machine, would you choose to plug in? Most people hesitate, and Nozick thinks that hesitation tells us something important, that we value more than just pleasurable experiences. Most people, when asked about the experience machine, would probably say they wouldn't plug in, and Nozick believes that choice is telling. He gives three main reasons. First, we want to actually do things, not just feel like we're doing them. For example, imagine you want to climb Mount Everest. You could have a machine give you the sensation of reaching the summit, every view, every triumph, but you never actually made the climb. It wouldn't feel like a real accomplishment because you didn't act in the world. Nozick argues that we value our actions themselves, not just the pleasure they bring. Doing things, taking risks, and achieving goals are important parts of a meaningful life. Second, we want to actually be certain kinds of people. It's not enough to feel like we're gorgeous, loving, or creative. We want to actually be those kinds of people. In the machine, you might experience the emotions and satisfaction of being brave, kind, but it's all an illusion. You are not really exercising your character. Nozick points out that personal growth, moral integrity, and the kind of person you become are intrinsic values. Pleasure alone doesn't capture that. It doesn't make you truly virtuous or capable. Third, we want contact with reality. Even if the real world is messy, imperfect, or sometimes painful, we still value truth and authenticity. Living entirely in a simulated reality, no matter how pleasurable, would separate us from reality itself. We care about knowing what is real, experiencing genuine relationships, and seeing the world as it actually is. The world we act in, struggle in, and interact with gives our experiences meaning. Without that connection, life is incomplete. Nozick Experience Machine teaches us that a good life is about more than just pleasure. Even if a machine could make you feel happy all the time, we still care about real experiences and achievements. Actually, doing things gives our life meaning. We also value personal growth and moral character. Becoming a brave, kind, or honest person is more than just feeling like one. Finally, our connection to reality matters. Truth and authenticity are essential. Taking together, this thought experiment challenges ethical theories like hedonism that focus only on maximizing pleasure. It reminds us that a meaningful life involves action, character, and reality, not just feelings of happiness. Nozick Experience Machine might have seemed like pure science fiction in 1974, but today we live in a world that's surprisingly similar. Virtual reality and immersive video games let us experience things that feel real, winning battles, flying, building amazing worlds without actually doing them. Social media often shows a curated version of life, a kind of digital experience machine where we see perfect happiness, success, and relationships, sometimes making real life feel dull by comparison. AI generated content and deepfakes could even make experiences feel completely real, yet artificial. These modern examples force us to ask, are we in some ways already choosing pleasure over reality? Nozick reminds us why authenticity, action, and genuine relationships still matter, even in a world full of simulations. While Nozick's experience machine is influential, it is not without criticism. First, some philosophers argue that pleasure alone can be enough for a good life. For example, Epicurus valued tranquility and absence of pain, and Jeremy Bentham, he said, maximizing pleasure defines well being. From their perspective, a machine giving endless pleasure might be desirable. Second, the preference for reality may be personal. Not everyone values authenticity equally. For instance, someone focused on calm and pleasure might plug in, while another who values real relationships and personal growth might refuse. Third, critics say the experiment may exaggerate our aversion to illusions. We already enjoy movies, games, or virtual reality, so perhaps rejecting the machine reflects fear of losing our current life, not a universal preference for reality. Finally, today's technology blurs the line between real and simulated experiences, raising the question of whether highly realistic virtual lives could satisfy what we value. In short, the refusal to plug in is not universal. It depends on personal values, psychological biases, and how we define meaningful experiences. To wrap up, Nozick's experience machine is a powerful way to question whether pleasure alone defines a good life. Most of us intuitively refuse to plug in, which shows that we value our actions, who we are, and our connection to reality. Today, with virtual reality, AI, and social media, these questions feel especially relevant. We may never face a literal experience machine, but we do face choices every day about how much we value pleasure versus authenticity. The experience machine reminds us to think critically about what makes life valuable, highlighting that happiness is important, but not the only ingredient for a meaningful existence. The complete bibliography is listed on the final slide. Thank you for your attention.